The WNBA is actively disgracing their only star, while MSNBC is attempting to replace their only star. The Dump has one star, and they have no idea what the hell to do with her, while MSNBC has managed to create a cable news superstar, and they're struggling to survive without her. I know the WNBA thinks they're the draw. I know the Dump of Dumps thinks they're the reason people are watching pretend basketball, and Caitlin Clark is just a tiny piece of steam that's coming off the polished turd. But if the diva of Dump Divas, Kat Engelbert, wants to know what the WNBA would look like without the Rue from Waterloo, all she has to do is grab her microscope and look at these dwindling ratings at MSNBC. Whether you agree with her politically or not, and I'm assuming most people in this audience do not agree with Rachel Maddow, but whether you agree with her or not, there is no denying the fact that Rachel Maddow is a mainstream draw. She is a cable news superstar. Matter of fact, you could make a very strong case, and I don't know if I would be able to dispute it. You can make a strong case that Rachel Maddow is the biggest star in cable news. At minimum, the most impactful. The reason I say that is because Fox News has proven that the Fox platform is the draw. Bill O'Reilly gets fired. No big deal. We'll just replace him with Tucker Carlson. When Tucker got fired, I thought Fox was screwed. There was minimal backlash when Billy was fired due to the circumstances as to why he was fired. But when Tucker Carlson was fired, the backlash against Fox was overwhelming. If I remember correctly, I think Fox ratings in the 25 to 54 demo, I think their ratings hit record lows after Tucker was fired. Eventually, though, the outrage subsided. Tucker is replaced with Jesse Waters, and Fox News has been dominating ever since. Unfortunately, though, for MSNBC, they don't have the benefit of the platform being the draw. I can't explain to you why Rachel Maddow is a superstar. I don't know. In terms of presentation, she's really no different than everyone else on the sinking Titanic. She is no different than the super nerd Chris Hayes. She is no different than the overly emotional Larry O'Connell, who took a sabbatical earlier this year when the Trumper returned to the White House. My inside sources, they tell me that Larry traveled over to Ireland during his sabbatical, hoping he could fertilize Rose O'Donnell's garden. Unsurprisingly, Larry isn't exactly Rose's type. She would not allow him access to the Garden of Evil. I don't know why Rachel Maddow is so successful, and this is often the case with mainstream stars. It's kind of the same thing with Caitlin Clark. For some reason, people are just drawn to her. When Caitlin Clark plays, people are watching, people are buying tickets. When Angel Reese plays, you could black out every other channel on television. Watching Angel Reese could be your only option, and millions of people would turn off the TV and watch the back of their eyelids instead. When Rachel Maddow was on MSNBC on Monday nights, over 2 million people are tuning in. The other 4 nights of the week, the remaining primetime hosts are fighting for the handful of flies that are circling this turd. Initially, when Rachel Maddow announced that she was only going to work 1 night a week while still demanding her full $25 million a year salary, MSNBC replaced her with Alexandra Wagner, better known to the friends and family who watched her as Alex. When Alex, she, her inevitably failed, MSNBC came up with the brilliant idea to replace her with Jen Psaki. I guess they thought America was clamoring for her Psaki bombs. Unfortunately for Little Red, The only thing Jen is bombing is MSNBC's primetime ratings. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you have a topic that you want me to cover, or if you just want to tell me I'm an asshole, shoot me an email, btlkc84@gmail.com. On paper, Jen Psaki is the perfect host for a primetime cable news show, especially at a network like MSNBC where lying is not only encouraged, it seems to be required. Little Red started her mainstream political career as the traveling press secretary for the Obama campaign, where she was required to disguise the true meaning of the fundamental transformation of America. I remember back in 2008, there was select few in the mainstream media who were willing to ask what Barry meant by fundamental transformation of America. Mainly, the only ones I can remember asking were Glenn Beck and Alex Jones. Of course, Barry never agreed to an interview with them because then he'd have to actually answer the question. Most in the media refused to ask what he meant, just like most politicians refused to ask what was actually included in the Obamacare bill. But even during his 2 terms in office, we didn't fully understand what he meant by fundamental transformation of America. Now we do. The America we are living in today, where men are no longer dating women, instead they're becoming women, where rainbow flags are flying instead of American flags, where diversity is more important than merit, where unqualified candidates like Mina Kimes are given jobs as NFL analysts. That's what Barry meant by fundamental transformation of America. But anyway, that's where Little Red Riding Hood got her start in national politics. She worked several years with Barry, and in 2017, she became a political commentator at CNN. During her time at CNN, she went from having a master's in manipulation to graduating with a doctorate in deception. November of 2020, she was selected to be a part of the Biden-Harris transition team. Well, Casey, was she providing gender-affirming care to those in need? Supposedly, she was helping our former fearless leader, Johnny B. Biden, make the transition into the White House. Clearly, that transition was a colossal failure. During his 4 years of destruction, John Biden spent more time in his Delaware dungeon than he did in the actual White House. Lil Red, she ended up being his press secretary, where she became famous for her catchphrase, "Circle back." When someone in the media would ask her a question, Jen would drop a Psaki bomb and say, "Circle back." When translated to English, circle back means, "I don't know the answer to your question," or "I am incapable of providing an honest answer, so I'll tell you I'm looking into it while having absolutely no intention of ever giving you an answer." Once she jumped off the rapidly sinking Titanic known as the Biden administration, Jen landed a job at MSNBC. She hosted a show on weekends that performed well in the ratings. On paper, Jen Psaki was the perfect replacement for Rachel Maddow. She's got mainstream name recognition. Unlike the Wicked Weave Joy Reid, she has naturally growing hair. There is no need for synthetics with Jen Psaki. She's got the ability to grow hair naturally. Jen was supposed to be the next big star. So what the hell happened? Why is she struggling to draw an audience? Look, no one expected Jen Psaki to step in and maintain Rachel Maddow's ratings, but I at least expected Red to be able to maintain Alex Wagner's ratings, but she can't even do that. We are 2 months into the nightly Psaki bombs on MSNBC, and there's just only one way to describe it: huge, embarrassing failure. From January to May, Rachel Maddow averaged 1.8 million viewers. Over the past couple of months, when Rach is only available one night a week, she's averaging over 2 million viewers. Jen Psaki has that number down to a cool 1.1 million. Now, I'm no expert in math, but it looks like Jen is struggling to maintain half the audience. To make matters worse, she is underperforming when compared to Alex Wagner. 2 years ago, Alexandra the Wannabe Great averaged 1.4 million viewers. The replacement is averaging 20% less than the original replacement. She's also averaging less than Larry O'Connell. Jen Psaki is occupying the most important time slot in cable news, and she is averaging fewer viewers than the doofus that airs at 10 p.m. The only thing that could make this worse is if Jen was losing to Simone Sanders. It would be one thing to lose to the original balding beauty Joy Reid, but it would be inexcusable for Jen Psaki to be losing to the replacement balding beauty. The question is why? Why is Jen Psaki struggling? Well, Casey, she's not struggling. She's dominating the primetime ratings at CNN. Her ratings are great. Jen Psaki's a huge star. For starters, MSNBC would be insulted to be compared to CNN. Obviously, CNN would be thrilled with 1 million viewers in prime time. If Andy Cooper was pulling 1 million viewers, he could stop polishing his resume and get back to polishing the turd. But when you go from 2 million to 1 million, or when you go from 1.4 million to 1 million, that is a steep decline. Jen Psaki was supposed to be the hero. She was supposed to be the savior. So why is she struggling? I don't think this is a Jen Psaki problem. I think this is a MSNBC problem. Like I told you guys the other day, MSNBC is on a similar trajectory to CNN. This network lost credibility with normal people years ago, but they could always rely on the wanker spankers. They could always rely on lonely men who enjoyed watching bald women. When John Scarborough and Mika Bazooka had the audacity to spend a weekend in Mar-a-Lago with the Trumper, MSNBC lost credibility with the spankers, and they have never recovered. If you look at what happened at CNN, it was a gradual decline that was immediately followed by a steep decline. CNN went from 1.1, maybe 1.2 million, down to 1 million, down to 800,000, down to the pooper. This all happened within the span of 3 years. Now, 3 years sounds like a long time, but this happened quickly. It took the NBA 10 years to lose half their audience. It took CNN 3. How long will it take MSNBC? Or do you think MSNBC can recover? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.